Welcome to the AI argument. We're episode something or other, 9, probably. This is Justin Collery with me, and I'm Frank Prendergast. Justin, I say this at the start of every single live that we do. What a week in AI.
Frank, I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
Have you ever got AI to write a post for you, or like a LinkedIn post, or even just a text message, maybe, and send it to somebody? Never?
No, never. I get it to review my posts.
I have, right? But I just want to talk about, so one of the big news stories this week was Ilya Sutskever, the head of alignment for OpenAI, finally parted ways with OpenAI. And Sam Altman sent this tweet. I'm not going to have to read the whole tweet to get to my point. It was, Ilya and OpenAI are going to part ways, full stop. This is very sad to me, semicolon. That's all I have to go for. I don't have to go any further. There's a couple of weird things with this post. First off, the T was capital in this. I challenge you to go and find me any other tweet that Sam Altman has posted with a single capital letter in it. Not one. Not one. And it goes on from there. Then there's the semicolons, and there's just the phrasing of it's weird and the way he describes it. I am quite sure that Sam Altman either has a PR agent who has written one post and one post only, that one, or Sam Altman didn't actually write that. GPT-4o did.
I kept waiting for, like, Ilya really elevated OpenAI. I was looking for all those, you just expected all those really typical AI words, because it certainly didn't sound like Sam Altman. It very much sounded like AI, 100%. Yeah. I mean, that drama just keeps unfolding. I mean, Ilya Sutskever has been like on the missing list since Sam Altman was ousted and finally reappears. I can only assume they must have been like under pressure from Microsoft or something to say, Ilya, you can't leave right now. Just give us a couple of months and then you can quietly slip away. Because otherwise, I don't know. It just makes no sense to me that whole ousting thing would happen. Then Ilya just disappears and everyone's like, where is he? What did he see? Is he buried in the basement? And now he finally pops back up to say, I'm out of here.
The timing was interesting. So I don't think, I think it's slightly different than that. I think that they both resigned, both himself and Yen, both of them were two people that resigned from OpenAI. They were both the head of super alignment. They were joint heads of super alignment. And they resigned the day after GPT-4o was released. I think they're related. I don't think they're unrelated. It would be too much of a coincidence. They could have resigned last week. They could resign next week. They didn't. Yeah. They resigned the very next day after that model was released. And so that tells me that there's something to do with that model that they're not happy with.
Well, and in the announcement about GPT-4o, they specifically said that they're concerned about misuse with these new capabilities, and as a result, they're going to be very cautious with the rollout. So yeah, Did
you watch the presentation on Monday, the OpenAI presentation? Did you watch it live?
No, I didn't watch it live. I watched it shortly afterwards. How come?
Well, there was two things that jumped out at me, and my partners called me a prude, but I thought the voice was too flirty.
Interesting.
I thought the voice was a bit too flirty, and they could have toned that back a bit. And I also thought it was one of the least polished OpenAI demos I've seen. The surroundings were beautiful, but it was glitchy. There was definitely glitches in there, and it looked to me like I'm very interested, because my working assumption up until this point has always been OpenAI released GPT-4 a year ago, more than a year ago. They had GPT-5 in the bag, and GPT-6, they possibly have it very close to being in the bag, and they're just drip feeding. So, every time a competitor releases something that's, getting better, they just go, oh, okay, let's just turn up the dial a bit and, make sure we're always number one. But I got the sense that demo and everything was not something that they had sitting in the bag for the last 6 or 8 months, but really was cutting edge technology. It's definitely, I don't believe, I can talk to you technically about this. That version of GPT-4, I think we can assume bears no relationship to the previous version of GPT-4 at a technical level. So because it takes in voice, video, and text, and puts out voice, video, and text. Now, I don't know the inner workings of it, but it's more than just text in, text out. It's a very different architecture. And so, yeah, it looks to me like Ilya and the super alignment. You could take the positive view, which is super alignment solved his work, because it did. The wordings of when they were leaving sort of, implied that maybe the work had been done, their job had been done, and they were leaving. So maybe they've solved super alignment and everything's good. Or maybe not.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that would be fab. That would be fantastic to believe. But I think that I would hope they would have done more than just imply it in between the lines of their tweets if they had solved it. But I find it interesting what you say about the polish of the demo. I think there's two things. Did you watch the Google event? The Google I/O.
I watched parts of it, and
Yeah.
the Google events kind of jar with me. I do like the OpenAI events; they're snappy, they're quick, and you get what it is. Whereas the Google events can go a little bit longer. What did you find with the Google event?
Well, this is the thing. I loved the dynamism of the OpenAI event, and I loved them for those glitches, and I loved them for the fact that it kind of was, rough and ready is a little bit too extreme, but it compared to Google, it was rough and ready. It felt like your mates. It felt like your mates in a fancy hotel demoing stuff to you, and I loved that. And I, as a result, processed like what they were saying far, far better than with the Google one. Because exactly as you say, it was hard to watch the Google one. I don't think I didn't watch the whole thing. I think I watched highlights of YouTube, and I still found it hard. I watched this kind of highlights of thing, and then afterwards I was like, wait, what did they just announce? I'm not sure. It was a bit all over the place. It was a bit stuffy. It was a bit dull. But the other interesting thing is it was one day after OpenAI's announcement. And I wonder, did OpenAI, because OpenAI didn't give us much of a lead time with that announcement, did they? I can't remember when they said it was going to be happening. So I wonder.
They first announced it looked like it was going to be on Thursday. And then at the last minute it was pushed out to Monday. So they announced on Thursday, it would be Monday.
Interesting.
I think they did it on purpose.
They squeaked in there before Google, and Google had some amazing stuff in their demo, but by the time we saw the Google demo, it was like, yeah, we saw that yesterday.
Yeah. But it was. Do you think that, because I'm just a petty technologist, right? You're more in the marketing side of things. With OpenAI, it's quite like they're very defined in what they're doing. Right? We're giving you AGI. We're going to give you the AGI. Here's the next step towards AGI. Whereas Google is this behemoth. And what I'm hearing is that it's very hard to have a message out of that. It's just very confusing. There's lots of different products. You've got something going on over here, something going on over there. There's no focus to it. And then everything just gets lost in the noise.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. Yeah, I mean, it it feels like Google should be OpenAI right now. Google should be the ones like leading the way, the ones that everyone's excited about, because they seemed so far ahead so early with DeepMind, and they were acquiring companies, they had their own internal stuff. You would think they would have been miles ahead, and yet ever since ChatGPT was launched, it feels like Google are scrabbling, and I think they're really working hard now to make it seem like they're not scrabbling. They seem to be doing more to make it seem like, yeah, we're in charge of this. But it's taken them a while to even make a start on that. And I'm part of Mark Schaefer's Rise community, and that's something we talk about a lot in that community. Is Google are terrible marketers, just terrible. And I think they're a company of engineers, and they just don't seem to be on top of the marketing of things. And I think they're starting to realize that, and I think they're starting to make some inroads. But it still feels like they're scrabbling and a bit all over the place. So
I would say that there's in the marketing department, right? Would I be correct in saying you want to under promise and over deliver? Would that be kind of you want to amaze people, And then when they go to use the product, you want to amaze them again for a second time. They go, wow, this is even better.
That would be my approach, certainly. Yeah.
That would be the ideal. So with OpenAI, they promised, and again, I like what they're doing here, right? They promised they've given away their best model for free. That's amazing. Brilliant marketing ploy. Everybody gets to use the best one, right? You have to assume a better one is going to come soon. They also released Ada V2 under the radar the very next day, right? So if you're paying the €20, there's another model there, right? Ada V2. I haven't used it yet, but apparently it's very, very good at problem solving and coding. Better again than what we have. Whereas the Google event, they promised loads of things, and I was interested to try some of them out because a couple of the things really impressed me in that Google event. I can't use them. So they overpromised and didn't deliver at all.
But interestingly, I mean, OpenAI have done that too, because they showed us amazing stuff, and now the rollout is like, it's a slow rollout, it's a staggered rollout. Some stuff isn't going to be available because they're still worried about safety. And so even the OpenAI one is a little bit like that. Maybe not.
We do get to use 4o, and I've been using it, and this is kind of weird, right? Because my Friday night movie is going to be Her, right? I haven't watched Her yet. I'm going to watch Her. I do feel that really for me, because I've been using so many LLMs, you get a sort of an intuitive feel for it, right? It's almost like talking to somebody for the first time, and you get a sense just from communicating with it, okay, yeah, I can work with this person or I can't. And 4o is the best one I've worked with out of the box.
Are you using the text input or
text.
what? Like what? Yeah. Do you have the? I don't seem to have 4o voice. No. I have the little headphone icon that I can click on, but I'm definitely not getting that. I'm definitely still on 4 because I'm getting that big long pause after everything.
Yes. I haven't turned it on yet. That Sam Altman tweeted, and there was no caps in that tweet. That was definitely Sam Altman tweeting.
I also cannot access the desktop app, which I'm interested in. I am not excited about personally using the voice input. I do not like. I don't like interacting with tech via voice. I don't even like, I think we talked about this before, I don't even like getting voice notes from people.
I don't even like talking.
Well, this is it. Like the voice capabilities, like pop that in a robot that I can be working away, typing away on ChatGPT, but saying to the robot, hey, would you mind doing the hoovering there while I'm doing this task? That's where voice is going to be incredible. That's where voice is going to be absolutely amazing. But in terms of talking to an app on my phone, I'm not interested. I get that loads of people are. The vision capabilities, interesting. And, and that's what I'm interested about with the desktop app, the ability to screen share with ChatGPT and say, look, this is what I'm working on. What could I do to make this better? That will be very interesting as soon as we get that app.
So how I expect this to work, right? I love this. I actually had a conversation with somebody in work because I was thinking through security, in fact, right, for LLMs. So if you work in a big company and you want people to use LLMs and you want to give them context, so you want to use documents and folders and stuff like that, security to make sure they only have access to the right documents is a big concern. And so what's the right solution to that? Well, the easiest solution is for the security to follow the person. So if I'm logged in as Justin and you're logged in as Frank, the AI only has access to the same documents that I have access to. That seems like an obvious sort of way of going around the security. When you think that whole process through, where you very quickly get to is actually the best way to implement that is to have an application which runs on your desktop. And you have then a vector database, which means that all the documents on your machine have now been vectorized and embedded, and you have that in your desktop. And then you can talk to any document that's on your machine. So you can say, oh, I had an email from Frank telling me that there was some release coming up soon. Where is that, right? Or I got a spreadsheet from Frank. I need to go and have a look at that spreadsheet. And literally, this is where the voice thing becomes, because those are the thoughts that are going through my head, right? Everything is vectorized on the database, on my machine. So OpenAI can then go search my machine, find the document, but I can talk to it. The spreadsheet will then just open up. Okay, that's great. I need to do an analysis on that now. Can we take that spreadsheet and look at the sales figures from last month and add them in, but just take off the stuff from our top 3 customers, because I need to see what the underlying sales are when we take out those exceptional items. Okay, so I'm literally giving it a stream of thought. That's a really interesting way, I think, to interact with the computer. I do think that's going to be very powerful.
Sure.
But not
yeah.
But after Frank.
Well, yeah, you just made me think of something there in terms of just privacy and security and everything. I came across two, just weirdly coincidentally, in the same 2-hour span. I came across two posts from people. One was a friend of mine, Zach Seipert. He was using ChatGPT, and he just asked a very general prompt, and in the response, it mentioned the state that he was in. Now, as far as I know, he doesn't have the memory feature. It was a brand new chat. How did it know what state he was in? Possibly complete coincidence, but a couple of hours later, I see another post from someone who was asking ChatGPT, was telling ChatGPT, I'm having a bit of trouble answering the question, what achievements are you most proud of in your life? And in the response, it came back with, oh, maybe there's something about your time at this company or this company. And they were actual companies it worked in. So like, what is, I thought that was really interesting, because it's like, was that stuff in its training data?
The second one of those examples, was somebody that you knew, or that's a verifiable, that's trustworthy, is it?
Well, a connection on LinkedIn. I mean, I would say no reason to I couldn't see any reason. Say again?
You didn't see a random person on Twitter say it. Like, it was
No.
a genuine. No. Okay.
Yeah.
So you'd have to assume it's true. And okay, that's interesting. And you're wondering about the training data. Was it that it just came out of the training data?
Well, either way, there's some level of privacy concern there, I would think. And the only thing that I could think of, was, has it somehow matched the user profile? So if they're logged in through their Google account, for example, has it somehow matched who they are to whatever they know about them in the training data? Because otherwise it's like, where is that information coming from?
Do you know what I'd be interested to know, right? Because OpenAI, of course, are rolling out this memory feature. We don't really know how that memory feature works. It's just that in the background, it remembers bits of your conversations before. So maybe somewhere in, if somebody's been using ChatGPT for the last year, maybe in other conversations, that sort of stuff has come out. It's using the memory feature to get that.
He did not have the memory feature. That was definite.
Maybe he did, though.
Well, okay. Yeah. Okay.
The Occam's razor on this is, OpenAI has all your information, Frank, and knows everything about you, and they're not telling you. Or somebody made a mistake, and when the memory feature is turned off, it's really turned on. It seems like the memory feature.
Yeah. But he didn't actually, as far as I know, if I remember correctly, he didn't have the memory feature. So it wasn't like, was it turned on or off? It was actually that, because I don't have the memory feature, for example, because I don't think it's even available in the EU. So it's one of those things that, again, it's like a slow rollout. Yes. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. But let's put it this way: I'll definitely be on the lookout for any personal information that ChatGPT starts. I tried to get it to talk about anything regarding where I lived or where I was or anything like that, and I couldn't replicate anything of the kind. So,
was that not the very first question you asked ChatGPT?
No.
It
actually wasn't.
That was the first thing, was, what does it know about me?
Yeah.
So I asked it to tell me about me, and it just went, I can't tell you. And I thought that was a bit boring, actually. I was hoping it would tell me something. Actually, I prefer if you did say something about me. Okay. So
go back. You mentioned a little while ago about the 4o being available to everyone, even free users, which I agree with you. I think that's brilliant, because I know a lot of people who have tried ChatGPT, but they had no interest in paying for it because they were like, yeah, it wasn't great. And it was like, yes, but you're using 3.5. So I think that's an absolutely brilliant move. And I'm excited as well, because it means that the custom GPTs will be available to people. So like, for example, I've built a GPT that will give you asked me at the start, have I ever had a post written by AI, which I haven't, but I do get it to help me improve and strengthen all of my posts. So I've got a custom GPT that will do just that. But if I'm trying to share it with someone, I'm always like, yeah, here, you can use this, but you have to have a paid account. Whereas now I'll just be able to go, here you go, you pop on, use it. It's free. Fantastic.
Did you?
The other thing, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you got it.
I was going to say the other thing I'm excited about is, and I don't know when we're going to get it, again, they have these concerns around misuse, etc. But apparently DALL-E 3 is going to be replaced by the native multimodal image generation. And I mean, they haven't been clear about that, but I assume it's what they've been talking about with the same engine that Sora uses. So that I'm excited to experience when they feel that they're ready to roll that out as well.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. And I think it might come sooner than you think. And I have to go back to Jan LeCun's thing about, a 4-year-old ingests more data by the time they get to be 4 than we train all our models on. And part of giving 4o out to everybody and giving it voice and video and all this is the amount of data now that OpenAI will have access to just explodes. And of course, that's all going to be just training data. So, I mean, I think that's, from that point of view, technical side as well, it's pretty smart.
Very true.
So I love it. Tell me this, another thing caught my eye in the Google. Did you see in the Google announcement, they had some agents that they demonstrated? Did you see that? It was when they had, I think it was a pair of shoes, and they asked it to return the pair of shoes for it. I don't know if you spotted that.
I don't think I did see that, actually.
All right, this is a really big deal. So because I'm a nerd, Justin's weekend project is I'm trying to get my version of GPT-4o to download I'm going to start with bins, my refuse collection, download all my bin receipts, track them, and then every month maybe just do a search and see, could I get a better deal somewhere else? And if it can get a better deal somewhere else, just switch me to the new bin provider. So I'm always on the cheapest bin provider. And if I can do it for that, I can do it for my car insurance, I can do it for my broadband, I can do it for everything, my electricity, my gas, the whole lot, right? And those are called agents. And I'm going to do it myself. At the moment, I have it. It's logging into my bin provider. It's navigating. It knows how to navigate the screens and do stuff like that, right? So yeah, it seems doable. But Google will do a much better job than me. And Google demonstrated that they could do it. They were going to build this into, this is the power of Google. It's distribution, right? They have all the users. Now, if I can have a little agent, like a little AI that could go off and do tasks for me, so I could create one that is my gas thing, right? So check my emails. Whenever I get a gas bill, can you read it? I did do a test, by the way, on gas specifically, where I gave 4o a bill, which was a screenshot from this January and the previous January, and asked it to analyze the bills. Did an outstanding job. Brilliant. It went off itself, calculated, said, yeah, you used about the same amount of gas. I can see you've switched provider. The price per unit has dropped, but your standing charge has gone up, and blah, 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 but you're saving about €100 a year. It seemed to be a small step to go from that to, can you please go now and search for all the other gas providers and tell me, could I get a better deal? Seems like a really obvious thing to do. And what Google demonstrated was the start of that. And I think if you extrapolate that, then there's enormous changes to the economy, right? I think that's a really interesting, a very powerful thing for consumers. So how many people have Gmail? Would you say, what's the percentage of people that have Gmail accounts?
I have no idea, but yeah, pretty much everyone. So yeah,
right. Let's just assume it's everyone, right? For all intents and purposes, it's everyone. And let's say 60% of those people use the agent to get the best electricity deal. What happens to the electricity market? It's impossible to compete, I think, almost. The only variance then is when you signed your contract. So if I work for, whatever, Irish Electricity or wherever it happens to be, and I have a young Frank Prendergast, and I'm 23 years old, and I'm in the marketing department, and I want to make a name for myself, and I go, I know what I do. I need to sign us about 500,000 customers. All I need to do is I need to drop the price for about 2 days. All the agents will pick up on it. Everybody will switch over. There we go. Bam, bam, 500,000 customers. It's a really interesting dynamic as to what happens in a marketplace like that.
Good grief. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's called a public good, Frank, in economics. That's these are the positive benefits. You and me and everybody else get the best deal always.
So as long as we build into our agents to watch for patterns of dropping the price for 2 days and then hiking them back up again.
Oh, well, I mean, your contract, yeah. I mean, your contract has to last for a year, or whatever. There's all sorts of variables and things, but yeah, you could. I mean, I don't think that's an easier problem to solve than all the other problems. But
Yeah.
for every market, that can be a thing, and maybe that opens up new business.
Does it then lead eventually to a lack of competition?
I think it does. I think it in a way it's very difficult for companies to properly, like, especially for utilities is the obvious one, because there's no differentiator. Like, electrons are electrons, bin collection is bin collection, makes no difference. I just want the cheapest one. And in fact, I'm sure I could do it such ways, for whatever reason, ethical reason, I don't want to deal with that company. Take them off the list.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit of that. The AI will handle all of those variances with zero programming. I just have to tell it.
But we could end up in a kind of a race to the bottom price-wise, one or two left standing, no competition, and then they hike the prices up, and then we have to nationalize again, which I wouldn't be, which I'm not sure I'd be against. Which I'm not sure I'd be against. I'm not sure they ever should have been privatized, but anyway.
Okay, and then we're into, but it could be anything. I mean, it could be, I need medicines. I need to buy a flight to Alicante. I need to buy whatever. Car insurance. I mean, you'd never privatize, or you'd never nationalize car insurance. But again, I'll always get the best deal if the AI is out there just hunting for the best deal for me. And it's a pain in the ass, right? I'm thinking about, let's say, health insurance, right? So every year, at the end of the year, I've got to go through all my receipts, and I've got to send them off to my accountant. And oh my God, it's such a palaver. Log into the revenue system, upload my receipts. I could have an agent do all that for me. I don't have to do any of that work.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think I was telling you, I actually have a friend who's working on an AI tool that would pretty much do exactly this, but it's for people in procurement, where it goes out and will basically, people make it very difficult to compare like with like by putting these bundles and plans, and so they're building a tool that'll actually go out and figure all that out for you and come back with the cheapest or best option for you, depending on your requirements. Maybe we should get him on the AI argument someday.
Yeah.
But yeah,
here's all of this, right? So you're interested in web design and all that sort of that end of the marketing good stuff. And I mean, I remember years ago you designed a website for a computer screen. And then there was a change because most people started looking at websites on their phones, and so web design changed to be on a phone. But maybe in another year or two, the main people that browse your website are actually agents. They're AI agents. They're not people at all. And maybe the next round of SEO is going to be agents. Make your website searchable by agents. Make them. It's quite difficult to interact with a website through an agent. You've got to try and see where all the buttons are and stuff. So you could have an agent-friendly web interface that makes it easier for the agents, and that will be a competitive advantage in that sort of environment. If you make it easy for the agent to go to your website, well, then you're more likely to get picked up by the agent. Where if you've got this very fancy website with swishy things in and out and whatever, it's more difficult, and therefore the AI might miss it, might make a mistake. So maybe that's the next SEO wave.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could have a whole conversation about what on earth is going to happen with websites, because I think websites as we know them now, I think websites are going to be a thing of the past. But how quickly that happens, I'm not sure. But I can see a future where there are not websites as such, but hyper personalized experiences based on your intent, your search intent, so yeah, I think websites are going to be archaic quite quickly, possibly.
There was an interview this week. I can't remember the name of the lady, but she runs one of these dating websites. I can't remember which dating website it was. And she believed that the future of dating was that, let's say you and me, Frank, were going out looking for dates. What we would do is we would send out our AIs, which we had trained ourselves, and they would talk to other people's AIs, and they would do all the sort of the initial sort of scoping out to see if you were compatible. And then once your AI had said, yeah, that person, then you would go ahead to meet the person in person, which is kind of crazy.
It is kind of crazy, but also it doesn't surprise me, because I mean, people are doing that already with assistants, which I was like, wait, what? So, you know, very busy people have assistants who manage their dating profiles for them, and yeah, absolutely. So now it's just like, oh, yeah, we don't really need a person for that. We just need to do it with AI. So I can definitely see that happening quite quickly.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're actually at time, and we didn't even go into what all the stuff that Google announced, but basically it was, essentially it was kind of similar to what OpenAI announced, but only OpenAI announced it one day earlier.
But it was less flirty, which I liked. I didn't like the flirtiness of the OpenAI one.
And then the very last piece of news that I just want to throw in at the very end was that Claude 3 Opus is now finally available in the EU, which is great, because I was in the States there for a couple of months and I had access to Claude 3 Opus and I loved it. And I came back to Ireland, did not have access to it anymore because it wasn't available in the EU. And then within a couple of days, they said, boom, here you go. We finally have it in the EU. I would love to know what the story behind it not being here for so long was. I haven't heard a peep really about what it might have been, except one connection of mine did mention that it was Mary Rose Lyons. She mentioned that she had heard that it was not a technical or technological barrier, but a personality-driven one. So I'm not sure what that might have been referring to, but I'd love to know.
I would too. That sounds intriguing.
Let's maybe try and poke that out for the next show.
Yeah. Who are we talking about, I wonder? Okay, let's try and find out more about that, because that sounds really interesting.
Yeah. Cool. Well, it's been a pleasure. Time flew as always, and no doubt we'll have a gazillion things to talk about next week as well.
Hopefully GPT-5, Frank.
Yeah. Were you disappointed that it was 4o and not 5 at the announcement?
Yes, I was. I felt very flat after it.
Yeah. Well, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed we'll soon be arguing about the merits of GPT-5. I will see you next week.
Brilliant. Have a great week. We talk to you soon.
Cheers.